Hello, my name is Dr. Catherine Cooper. I am a research scientist with the Technical Services Program at the National Center for Preservation, Technology, and Training, also called NCPTT. Today I will be presenting a brief overview of the life and work of Dr. Elizabeth Bass, who was a physician and suffragist in Louisiana. You can see a photo of her on the right-hand side of the slide. Mary Elizabeth Bass was born in Marion County, Mississippi in 1876 to Isaac Esau and Mary Eliza Bass. She was the second of 8 children and brought up in a family that supported education. She graduated from high school in 1893 when she was 17, and then she taught in public schools in Mississippi and Texas. The photo on the right side of the screen is from the Howard Tilton Memorial Library at Tulane University and shows Elizabeth Bass when she attended the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania. The majority of photos that you will see in this presentation are from the same collection at Tulane. Both Elizabeth and her younger sister Cora were encouraged to attend medical school by their brother, Dr. Charles Cassidy Bass. They went to the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania in 1900, which was the first women's college for medical education in the country. They graduated 4 years later in 1904. In this photo, you can see Elizabeth Bass attending class in a surgical theater. She's labeled number 1 in the upper left corner of the image here. When the sisters returned to the South, women were not permitted to work in any existing medical facilities in New Orleans. The Bass sisters partnered with 5 other women to found a dispensary for women and children in 1905 with twofold purpose. First, to create a place for female physicians to gain experience, and second, to give women and children access to free health care. The name changed to the New Orleans Hospital and Dispensary for Women and Children in 1908 and continued serving as a hospital until the 1970s. At some point, the hospital was renamed the Sarah Mayo Hospital. The photo on the right is from the Times-Picayune and shows the front of the hospital in 1958. Dr. Elizabeth Bass became one of the first female faculty members at the Tulane School of Medicine in 1911. A quote from the Tulane Graduates magazine reads, quote, "No question has been more bitterly debated. On November 15th, the Board of Administrators let down one of the barriers of conservatism and appointed 2 women members of the faculty, Dr. Edith Lober Ballard in the Department of Clinical Obstetrics and Dr. Elizabeth Bass in the Department of Pathology," unquote. On the left, you can see a picture of Dr. Elizabeth Bass in a classroom marking papers at Tulane Medical School. When Dr. Elizabeth Bass was hired in 1911, female students were still not accepted to the program. She worked as an assistant demonstrator with no salary until 1913, when she became a laboratory instructor. She saw the first class that included female students matriculate in 1915. In 1920, Dr. Elizabeth Bass became a full professor and taught for 21 more years before retiring in 1941. In retirement, she opened a private practice, which she ran until 1949. Along with fighting for access to the medical profession for women, Elizabeth Bass became actively involved in the suffrage movement. She joined the Era Club, New Orleans chapter, in 1905. The Era Club advocated for women's suffrage on a state-by-state basis, which was one of the 2 major approaches of groups advocating for the vote, the other approach being suffrage through the federal government. The Era Club also championed other civic causes, including the equal participation of men and women in all aspects of society, and greater legal protection for women and children. On the right, you can see Dr. Elizabeth Bass's membership card to the Era Club. To this end, the Era Club helped advocate for the inclusion of women at Tulane Medical School. An article in the Era Club's publication, The New Citizen, from January 1912 reads, Quote, "The Era Club, therefore, impelled in this matter by the principle of its organization, which is to promote and protect the advancement of women, hereby declares that if in the future a woman applicant for admission to the Medical School of Tulane University is refused such admission for an uninterrupted, unconditional, full medical course, the Era Club binds itself to stand by such applicant, to assist her, and to defray the legal expenses, in case of litigation, of a suit against the Board of Administrators to have the question decided by the courts." Unquote. In other words, the Era Club publicly declared their intention to throw their financial, social, and legal support behind any female student rejected from Tulane Medical School. The cover of the Era Club charter from 1914 is shown on the left of this slide. Dr. Elizabeth Bass continued to push for inclusion in the medical profession. She applied to the Orleans Parish Medical Society multiple times, where her brother Charles was already a member. She became the first woman admitted in 1913, and the first woman to hold major office, including secretary, from 1920 to 1922, and vice president in 1923. You can see Orleans Parish Medical Society profile photos on the right side of the screen. Dr. Elizabeth Bass is featured in the top center oval of the top photo collage, and her brother, Dr. Charles Cassidy Bass, is shown in the upper left corner of the bottom photo collage. Dr. Elizabeth Bass served actively in the American Medical Women's Association, which was a national organization. The article column pictured on the left of the screen is her profile as the president-elect of the association. She also joined the Southern Medical Association, where she became the first woman to chair a section of that society, the section of pathology, in 1939. Her membership card is shown at the bottom center of the slide. Dr. Mary Elizabeth Bass died on January 26, 1956. Part of her legacy was the Elizabeth Bass Collection on Women in Medicine, which included her research and writings on women in the medical field. Her article series, titled "These Were the First," was based on her research and connections, and highlighted the achievements of other women in the medical profession. She also left a scholarship fund for women attending Tulane Medical School. The photo currently on the slide is Dr. Elizabeth Bass with a microscope at Tulane University. This slide shows a timeline of Dr. Elizabeth Bass's life and career, from birth to attendance at medical school, through all of the firsts she championed for women in the medical field in New Orleans, to her death in January of 1956. And the last two slides include references if you are interested in learning more about this extraordinary woman. This slide shows books and journal articles, and the second slide links to exhibits and collections at Tulane University that can be viewed online.